Hey guys, it's Lindsay from Hey Y'all, it's Lindsay, and today I'm going to show you how to use a Trello board to do meal planning. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure this out so that it's the most useful, helpful, efficient thing possible, and Trello was the way that I was able to do that. Believe me, I tried really hard to make it work in my bullet journal, but there just wasn't a super efficient and organized way to do it, and I found that this digital way worked the best. So I'm going to show you. Trello is an online organizational website and product management tool that is 100% free and super flexible, so it can be used for many different things. Today, I'm going to focus on how to use it for meal planning in the system that I set up. There are lots of ways to do it. You can Google different ways people have done it in Trello. I find this way the most helpful. So I'm going to show you how to start one from scratch, and then I'm going to show you one that I have already created so that you can kind of see how I use it in my day-to-day. But first, you're going to go to trello.com/home, and you're going to go and click this green sign up button. It's standard sign up. You give them name, email, create a password. It sends you an activation email, and then you can get started and get logged in. So we're going to go ahead and go there. I'm going to show you what a brand new Trello account looks like. It's pretty sparse. When we see my other account that's fully developed, you'll see that you can go nuts in here. But we're going to start simple so you don't get overwhelmed, because I went bananas with my Trello. And that can be overwhelming to some people. So anyway, in here, you create boards, and each board is like a major topic that once you get into it, you're able to organize your thoughts and execute plans and use it pretty much however you want to. A blank Trello board is super powerful and can be used in like a trillion different ways. But for here, like you can do financial planning or garden planning, or like we're doing today, meal planning. They have a welcome board in here when you get started. If you really get into this and you really like getting organized and planning, and Trello seems to be right up your alley, I would say start with the welcome board and kind of explore all the different options. But there's more in there than I think we need to know for this particular project, so I'm going to skip that part. And first, we're going to just create a new board. Now, there are several different ways to do this. The most obvious is create a new board button right here, or you can click this plus sign over here and click create a new board, or you can go into boards and create new board. So they make it really easy, several different options, really difficult to miss how to make a new board. So we're going to go ahead and click this one, create new board, and we're going to type in meal planning and hit create. So see right here, this board will be private. It means nobody can see this unless you send it to them as a link. And I will, once we're done with this, create it to be public for you so that you can swipe it if you want to. But once you create a new board, this is what you're going to see. Pretty generic blue background. I'll show you how to change that in a bit. And then these three gray things, which are called lists. And this, you can make these lists into whatever you want. As you see, they've kind of pre-populated some for you. There's like a to-do list, and then a doing and a done. And how they see that is like, to do, today I need to do the dishes. And go grocery shopping. Okay, so if I am doing the dishes, this is super tedious. Dishes, you can move it over to doing. I'm doing them right now, and then when it's done, you can move it over to done. That's how some people use it. For meal planning, we're going to do a little bit differently. But before I go into that, I'm going to explain to you where, like, the concept behind Trello. So the reason you have those cards and these lists is, I don't know if you remember back in like middle school or junior high, your teacher would have you organize a major research paper by taking index cards, lining them up in lists according to different topics or different phases of your paper, and then you would write more details on the card, and then at the end of it, once you've got all your cards made, you can kind of arrange them all so that it makes sense and you can see the different options, and then in the end you decide that, oh, this is how it's going to look, or this is how it's going to go, right? And then from there you're able to write your paper. It's kind of the same concept that Trello is using. You can create big lists that cover major subheadings within your overall big topic of the board. And then you create cards that will contain all of the tiny details that you need to know once you're ready to start moving forward with stuff. So that's what the whole point of this is. And as I showed you before, cards can be moved from different lists. And once you go into a card, there's all kinds of options for adding more details. You can add descriptions, you can add labels and checklists and due dates, and you can even attach things like Google Docs or links, all that fun stuff. And then there's a bunch of actions you can do with it too. Like I said before, there's a bajillion different things and different ways you can set up an effective Trello board, and I'm going to show you today how I do it specifically for meal planning. I'll go ahead and delete this guy. All right, so this is your blank Trello board when you get into it. The first step you want to do is decide what your major subheadings are going to be for your meal planning. And how you can do that is kind of whenever you've tried to do meal planning before or whenever you approach your grocery list, how do you look at what you need for the week? Is it it makes more sense for you to look at, oh, I need to make sure we have a dinner every night and then make sure that there's other stuff in the house to eat snacks in for lunch and breakfast? Do you organize your meals by how long it takes you to make it? Like if you have a really busy schedule one week, you want to make sure you have lots of really quick 15-minute meals. You can do that. Or do you approach it by looking at what you already have and then find recipes that fit the current, like you have a bunch of chicken, so you want to make some chicken recipes this week. Is that how you do it? So think about that. And then you're going to use those major headings to create your first lists. Now, in our house, we do it by what meals we're going to be looking at for the week. Now, we're kind of weird, and we don't really worry about we don't really worry about lunch. And that's because my boyfriend doesn't eat breakfast or lunch most days. He just comes home and has a really big dinner. And then what I do is I will have leftovers from the dinner before for lunch. And then I just make sure I have some things on hand for breakfast during the week and on weekends. And sometimes on the weekend, we'll have a really big like brunch where we'll make lots of bacon and eggs and lots of protein. And that holds us over for dinner. So long story short, we don't worry about lunch. The big subheadings that we work on are breakfast and dinner. So if you do plan by looking at every other meal, you would want to add a lunch board. Or if you were, like I was saying before, with the times, you can make each of these lists like 15-minute meals, 30 minutes to an hour long meals, and then day-long meals or something like that. If you've got those different kinds of categories of recipes and that's how your brain works, you can do that. Or you can change these headings to chicken, beef, pork, and then you can divide your recipes into those different categories. It's just, this part is going to help you organize your recipes so that you know that how you're going to approach it that week, you can look at them categorically in the way your brain works the best. And like I said, I like to look at meals by the different meals that they, are good for, breakfast and dinner. The next list I'm going to have you make is one that I think everyone should have, is a staples list. And this helps us generate a grocery list, which I will go into in just a little bit. But that's one you want to make. And then I'm going to have one that's weekly stuff. And this is going to be where we keep our grocery list. And then I like to look at mine by making sure I have a meal listed for each week or each day of the week. So I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the way I'm doing that is just by typing in the word and then hitting the enter or return key, and that makes a new card. So it makes it super fast. And then I'll show you how I use these in just a little bit. So this is the most basic setup, and I'll show you different ways you can jazz it up in just a little bit because when you see my final one, I've added quite a few extra features, but this is legitimately all you really need to do to get started. So what we're going to do next after you've got these different lists is we're going to start collecting all of your recipes. Now this part's going to take a while. So I would set aside a time where you have at least a couple hours to go through and set this part up. But I promise after you get the setup part done, it's going to be so much easier when you sit down every week to try to do your planning and create your grocery list for what you need. So we're going to start by collecting our recipes. I'm going to skip collecting my breakfast recipes because I don't have that many. I'm just going to show you how I would add a dinner recipe. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a card. And the first recipe that we're going to do is one that I have stored on my Pinterest board, which is creamy chicken and mushroom soup. So I'm going to go back over to meal planning. I'm going to type in the name of the meal, creamy chicken and mushroom soup. Okay. So I've created a card for it. I hit enter. And then I clicked on it, and then we've got creamy chicken and mushroom soup. So this is the card for it. And what we're going to do is inside of it, we're going to create a list of all of the ingredients. And if you want to use this as your cookbook as well throughout the week, then I'm going to go ahead and also add in the instructions on how to cook it so that if you wanted this whole thing to be your entire home base in the kitchen, it can serve as that. Or if you don't want that much, it's going to just serve as a grocery list generating thing and a place to organize what meals you're going to do that week. Okay, so you can do either. So our first step is going to be to create a checklist of the ingredients. This is an important step. So you click checklist, and then you're going to come down and you're going to type in the name of the recipe again. And I'll show you in a little bit why that's important. I've made this before, so it's already auto-generating for me, but you're going to want to type it in or copy and paste in the name again into the title and click add. And you'll see over here it has created a new checklist here. And when I add items, so like item 1, item 2, it's creating a checklist for me that I can actually check off, and then it shows me that I've got everything. All right. This is going to be important later for grocery list generation, but for right now, I'm not going to go into that quite yet. So you click on it. I'm just going to delete those. So created the checklist. You're going to go back to your recipe and scroll all the way to your list, and that's going to start making noise in a second. Hopefully not. Then stop it. Highlight your ingredient list and the recipe and copy. Stop making noise. And then you're going to go back to your Trello board. And you're going to click your first item here. You're going to click paste, and it's going to put all of the items right here. And then if you hit enter, this is super cool. I love this part. It creates an individual line for each one. I love that. I'm not doing anything. It just did it all on its own. Super cool. And then if you want to make this your home base, you can go back, copy the directions, copy, and then go back up here to the description and paste it in there. I don't like it when it's a big block of text, so I like to go through and divide it by the bullet points that were divided in the recipe. And if you wanted to, you can add like an asterisk. How do you say that? Asterisk. For each one if that helps visually break it up. However you want to do it. And then hit save. And then boom, you've got the description there. And then your list of instructions. Another cool thing you can do, I tend to lose recipes on Pinterest, like, oh, I made that thing once and it was really cool and I don't remember how to get back to it. You can add attachments. So I just went and copied the URL and I go into attachment. It says attach link right here. Paste it in. I'm going to say chick mush soup and click attach. Okay, now right here, it's added a link. So if for any reason, like if I wanted to go and look at her description in her blog of how she made it, or if she had a video I wanted to watch, then I have a really quick access to it here. You can also attach a bunch of different stuff. So if like you've got your recipes saved in a Google Drive or in a Dropbox or anywhere on your computer, you can also link it to those files, and when you come on, it'll link here, and you click on it, it'll take you to wherever it's saved, which is a super cool option. But most of mine are in Pinterest, so I'm going to do that here. If you have a typed recipe book, then you would have to go and type all of these up, which takes a little bit longer, and I haven't done that with mine yet, but I will eventually. But it's bringing everything into one place. So if you can see here, we've got all, the different lists. And this is looking pretty sparse, but we'll go ahead and do another one. So we'll clear this one out. Go back. Let's find a different recipe. Do not judge me for my my recipe board. Look at that. Keto peanut butter cheesecake bites. I cannot wait to make those. Another one I love is this slow cooker low carb zuppa Toscano soup. Oh my god, it's so good. You can get it at Olive Garden, and then this is a low carb version of it, and it's delightful. So we'll go back to my meal planning. We'll add zuppa Toscano soup. I can read and write, guys. So I'll go down here. I will find, come back. I scrolled too far. All of ads. People on blogs and their ads, man. I will never do that to y'all. Oops, no. So I'll go to ingredients, copy all the ingredients, go back to meal planning, go into my zuppa Toscano, click checklist. We're going to title it. I'm just going to type it, zuppa Toscano, there we go, and click add, and then paste all my items in, and makes all the things. I'm going to copy my instructions, copy, zuppa, edit, and then boom, super easy. We'll add the attachment real fast. Copy, paste, zuppa, attach. All right. That's super fast, right? Especially if you're working from something online like Pinterest where you can find them really quickly and just, that took me less than a minute to add that recipe in here, right? And it's all in there. Click, done. Okay. So once you have a ton of recipes in here, I'm not going to go through and add a bunch, but you can add a bunch of recipes in here by just adding a bunch of cards under breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you've got all that. So then the next step after you've got all of your recipes in, or your first step, whichever you want to do it, is to add a staples card, and I'm just going to do one. This isn't going to be a long list. We're just going to go into staples, and so this is helping with grocery list generation, and again, I will show you guys that in a few minutes. But first, the first major step here, and I just need you to go with me and trust me on this journey I am taking you. But we're going to create different checklists inside of the Staples card that makes all of the things you have on hand all of the time. So for us, for instance, we have like a kitchen staple list. And we have like an animals staple list. And let's see, what's another one I can do? We'll just start with those. So in the kitchen, like we always want to have coffee and tea and sugar and honey and let's see, creamer for the coffee, and we'll just start with those for now. And then for like the animals, we want to have cat food and dog food and cat litter, anything that you know that you want to have, that you don't want to run out of and you want to check on every week to make sure you don't need to get it, you want to put into these lists. I'll show you my full staples list when we go into another one because I'm blanking right now on what else I need on mine, but you want to create different checklists for these just so that you have them kind of divided into different categories, and I'll show you why that's important here in just a second. So once you've gone through, put all of your recipes in for breakfast, all your recipes in for dinner, and then all of your staples, we can go ahead and decide what we're going to have for each week. So like say on Monday, I want to go ahead, I can scroll through and look at all the different options in my list, and I decide I want to have the creamy chicken and mushroom soup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on creamy chicken and mushroom soup. I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to move it over to weekly stuff. So what that's going to do is when I hit create card, it's going to copy the creamy and chicken mushroom soup card I made here. It's going to bring it down over here into this weekly stuff list. And so you can do that if you want to just decide you have 5 meals you want to do and you just want to click the 5 meals or the 7 meals, however you want to do it over here. Then I can drag that under Monday and then say Toscano we're going to have on Tuesday. Copy back it over here to weekly stuff. It's created it over here. I can drag it up to Tuesday. And then I know on Monday for dinner, we're going to have creamy chicken and mushroom soup. And for Tuesday, we're going to have Zuppa Toscano soup. All right. So then with the rest of your recipes for the week, you can do that. Sometimes I like to just have like a leftovers card that just kind of hangs out here. And then I can drag it. So like on Wednesday, we're going to have leftovers between these two before I make another one. One thing you might notice is that now that I've got a bunch of stuff in this list, it's hard to delineate between what is, like, it just visually looks cluttered and it's hard to see the different, dividers for the days. So one way you can work on that is you can go into, like, say here on Monday, they have this cool feature where you can add labels, and there's several different ways you can use it. But in meal planning, I like to use it to help me organize visually what I'm seeing. So let's make blue the color. So I've made the label of Monday blue. You can see here it's kind of made a divider. So if I go through and do that on every day, then visually it breaks up the space so that I can see, oh, Monday we're having creamy chicken. It doesn't just look like a bunch of words, right? So you can do that with every day as you go down. And I love that because I'm a visual person, so it helps a lot. So once you've done that, if you want to break that up, you can. Awesome sauce. If you don't want to, you do you, boo-boo. It's whatever you want to do. But the next step is then creating a grocery list, which this is where I always get really stressed out when I try to meal plan. It's like, oh yeah, I can pick out the meals I want for the week, but I never know, like, if I have everything for it, and I don't like to go through and figure out what all I need from each recipe. That part takes forever, and I freaking hate it. With this meal planning board, I wanted to plan it primarily so that process was made much quicker and makes my life a lot easier. So that's how this is going to work. So it's time to make the grocery list. We've picked out all of our meals for the week. So to make the grocery list, you're going to go into the grocery list. You're going to add checklist. And see this cool thing down here I've been ignoring so far? It says copy items from. This is why we added the meal name into the checklist on each of the different recipes. So now I know that for this week we're doing creamy chicken and mushroom soup, so I can add that. Boom. All of the items that are in that are right here on my grocery list, okay? So then I know I'm going to add another checklist, so I know zuppa toscano was something that we were going to do that week. I'm going to do add, and boom, all of it's right here, okay? Then if you were like, you want to make sure, I like to make sure every time before I go grocery shopping that I check all of our staples to make sure that we have them before I go to the store, because I hate nothing more than going to the store more than once because I forgot something. Then you can go and click your staples list. So I'll make sure we check that we have dog food and cat food before I leave. And then I also want to make sure that we've got all of our kitchen staples. Add. So if you look here, now I've got a long checklist here. And you can move these checklists around. Like I want to make sure first that we have all of our staples before I worry about the recipes. But then I can go through my kitchen and I can be like, okay, we've got cat food, we've got dog food, you know, we're doing okay on cat litter still. I don't need to get those this week. We do need coffee and tea. I just got sugar, so we're good on that. And honey, we're okay. And we just got creamer, so this week we don't need it. But I know we got coffee and tea here. I can click this hide completed items. And then it only shows what I need. We've got everything for the animal, so I don't need to worry about that. Then I can go through and check to see if we've got everything I need from each recipe. So I've got, you know, I've got the olive oil, we're good on that. I need to get chicken, good on salt, we're good on butter, okay with garlic. Probably need to get mushrooms, onions were fine, we've got a bunch of carrots. Celery stalk, probably need that. You know, so you guys get the point. You can click hide items. This shows you everything you need to get from the store based on what was in the recipe. Okay, so super easy, super awesome. It makes the grocery list for me, and I don't have to worry about that most annoying part. And then when I'm done, I can go and look and know that I've got everything for each of the recipes I want to do for that day. Okay, now the super awesome part about this is that you can get an app on your phone that will show you all of these lists. So you don't even have to go and then write this down. You can download the app, open up this list on your phone, and as you're walking through the store, check off things as you grab them, and then you can, you know, hide the checked items and see what else you need to get. It makes my life so much easier, okay? Now, what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to finish out these lists and make this into a swipe board that you can then copy and to your own Trello once you've got yourself set up. So you don't have to do this listing part. You can just change the headings to whatever you want them to be, and then everything else is set up. And then all you got to do is go in and put in your recipes, and then you've got kind of a system that's ready to go. One thing I should mention is that the reason I copy these over is so that I don't lose these, and I don't lose all the organization I did to start. So like, because if I were to move it, then it's, stop it, then it's not in where it was before, and I might lose it or delete it or whatever. So I just copy them over, and then when I'm done for the week, I look, see if I want to repeat any of them. If I don't, then I can go in, I can archive the card, delete it, and then I still have it over here, but it's not my weekly stuff. I can start afresh over here, okay? So these are the different, this is super simple setup. I'm going to log out real fast, and I'm going to log into the one I've created. Log out, log in. Log in. So this is... This is my super crazy Trello board. all the ones, these are the ones I'm actively working on, and then these are ones that I've either stopped working on or don't need as often, but this is the stuff I'm working on right now. So we can go into the meal planning one that I've already created. You can see mine is, it looks a lot different than the simple one I just showed you how to set up. That's because, one, I've added a background, and I'll show you real quick how to do that. You can go up to show menu. It's kind of hard to see on with the background I've got, but if you click show menu up here, you can click change background. You can change it to all different kinds of colors here, or you can go in and pick photos. So photos is an option as well, and then you can even like search. Like I think for this one I just clicked food, and then you can go through and pick a picture that you'd like for the background. So if you want to customize it, you can do that. That's part of the free features. If you want to upgrade to a paid service with Trello, you can do your own photos, but I've figured out they've got a bunch of ones that'll work just fine for me, and I don't feel like paying for it. So You see I've got breakfast, got my list of dinners, my staples. I promised to show you my full list. So I've got snacks. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we got snacks. Supplies is what I call this instead of animals. Kitchen stuff, health stuff. And so those are the things that I like to keep on hand all the time. And so this is what I will copy over into my to-do or into my grocery list each week. As you can see, I've added my labels here and I've got my grocery list. And then I've done some further divvying up inside of my big lists into favorites and then on the bench. The reason I did this is that we like to cycle through certain recipes. There's ones we really love to eat, but we like to have them more in like the winter time. And right now it's middle of August, so like a hot steamy soup is not necessarily something we want to eat. So I've moved a lot of those hotter ones that we may not want right now on the bench so that I can see them. I don't forget that they exist, but they're not in my go-to list, which is right up here. These are the ones that we have all the time. And then you can see I also created a secondary list over here of primary protein. Most of the time we look at it by meal, but sometimes we look at it by what's in the fridge. So like I have this here as a backup. And all I did to do that was went through and copied all of my recipes over here and then divided them into chicken, ground beef, pork, and steak. As you can see, this is clearly not everything we eat. I just started this and I'll keep adding to it over time. But for right now, I just wanted to show you how it works. Now, I'm sure you're wondering about my emoji usage. It's not because I love emojis. It's because I like to have further classification of how I use my recipes or how I pick my recipes. So what I've done is I've created an emoji key. You can see here. So I use emojis in my titles to help me further classify. So like low carb, because we try to eat low carb here as much as we can. So I can quickly scan through and make sure that most of my recipes have that, or like this one is not low carb because it's got honey and vegetables in it all, which have a bunch of sugar, which is fine. It's still good for you, but it's not low carb. So I can quickly tell that that's not a low carb recipe. Then I've got one here that requires oven. We live in an old house, and when we have when we run the oven in the summertime, our house is just blazingly hot and will not cool down. So like if we have a week where it's really hot outside and we do not want to use the oven, I'm going to avoid these ones that have little fire symbols and try to find one that has this red symbol, which you can see over here is for crock pot. So like if I can cook it in the crock pot instead, I would much rather do that. So there are weeks where I'm going to go and pick those over the ones that have the fire. And then I've created little ones that have the time on it so that if I want a really quick meal, I can look quickly and see the different emoji and make sure I pick one that's got a 15-minute one, like this chicken salad one. And then I've got ones that are good for hot weather, good for cold weather. So if I know that it's going to be a frigid week, then I can go through and scan real fast and find the ones that have the snowflakes and know those are really great for winter weather. So unfortunately, at least I haven't figured out, maybe there is a way. I don't know how to do the emojis from the desktop version of it, but you can do it from your phone version or a iPad or any kind of tablet. So what you would just do is go in on your phone, open up your card, click on it, and then go over to the edge and start typing in the different emojis that you want to use to help you classify it if that's something you want to do. And then, for these, I just played around with the different labels. You can select more than one label. There's different ones up here, and you can even add to it and pick more colors if you really want to. And then, see, it's added it over here. Okay. So then, yeah, this is my meal planning board. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, type me out questions. Again, in this post below, I will link you to a plain version of this board so you can just copy it, and I'll show you instructions on how you can copy someone else's board into your Trello and use it. And like I said before, the longest part is going to be setting the sucker up. So going through all your recipe books and going through all your Pinterest boards and collecting things that you actually like to make and things that you want to choose from for your recipes. You can even maybe add a list of like things I want to try. So if you don't, like if all your go-tos are not looking fun and maybe you want to try something new, then you've got like a list over here of things that maybe you want to try but you haven't yet and everything's already copied into it for you. Then you can go and pop it into your grocery list. Or if you just want to work with tried and true ones, you can not use that one at all. So that's how I do my meal planning in Trello. I hope that makes sense and that you guys find some use out of this. If you have any cool ways you want to update it or ways that you use it, go ahead and shoot me a link to the board so I can see what you're doing and maybe I can incorporate this into a future video. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Check out the step-by-step instructions below in the post and let me know if you have any questions. I hope this is helpful. Talk to you guys later. Bye.